when positioning, I guess a lot of the arguments or a lot of what's shared in the laws of human nature. I think if the reader is a politician or a public figure and they're reading about the importance of mastering social intelligence, they say, okay, I understand the utility of this right out of the gate. But what about everybody else, right?
Well,
Business leaders, parents, and so on.
yeah, I have a hard time understanding why anybody would think that. We're a social animal. If you understand anything about evolution and about where we came from, we are the premier social animal on the planet, although some people consider ants to be the premier social animal, but we're high among them, right? So everything we do is social. You're not really an individual. You, Michael Mogul, are not really Michael Mogul. You're a conglomerate of your parents, of their ideas, of their genetics. All of your thoughts come from language, which come from English, which comes from Old English, which comes from Latin, back, back, back. You are a mix of history, right? You are not an individual, you're a social being. Okay? So nobody can gain power in this world or be successful or gain anything that they want without understanding the social game. Just take being a parent, for instance. You have a 3-year-old. Okay, you know how children can be extremely difficult to manage, right? They haven't been socialized yet. They have their wants, their needs, their desires. They're very powerful. They're very willful. And I hate to say it, they can be manipulative. They know how to pour on the sweetness when they want something, etc., etc. Well, if you're a parent, you have to understand their psychology, their mindset, how different it is from yours in order to be able to get them to stop some of the behavior that you don't like and to become more of what you want them to become, or just to even accept them as they are. But you have to be very subtle with your psychology. So if you're a parent that doesn't even want to think about that, you're going to have problems, I believe, right? If you're a business person and you're not outer direct, you're not thinking about people, you won't know how to connect to an audience. You won't know how to create a product that will have mass appeal. Okay. I mean, even athletes, and I've consulted with some very successful athletes where it seems to be all about the individual, NBA players, etc. They have to deal with the social dynamic on a very powerful front. Here are 14, 15 men or women in a very competitive environment, where everyone has their ego. You've got the coach, you've got all these pressures on you. You have to be a master at the social game. You have to understand how to get along with others, how to get along with your coach, etc. There's not a human being on the planet that doesn't need this kind of information, I'm sorry to say.
And I want to elaborate on this on what you mentioned because I've heard you share this in an interview before where while many of us may feel like we have an idea of our identities and how we define ourselves, I've heard you argue that we actually have no idea who we are.
One day I meditate every morning. I was meditating, and I had this weird thought come up, bubbled up to me, and it was, I don't really know who I am, right? And so I think I'm motivated by this idea. But what if I'm completely wrong? What if it comes from something I've never even imagined before? And then I thought, I have a memory of something that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. What if that memory is completely false? That actually there was something very different going on at the time. And I had this image of this kind of fuzzy image of something happening in the past. And that's what my memory is, and that the reality that's focused, I have no idea what it is. Okay? So most of the things that you do in life, you really don't have access to where they come from. I'm writing about this right now. I'm writing about the brain and how it operates. And most of it is automatic. Okay? Your thoughts, if you ever spend time meditating, you see thoughts just coming up out of nowhere. You have no control over them. 98% of your thoughts, you do not will them. They simply come to you. Your emotions, they're physical things that are going on in your brain. Certain hormones are being released. They enter your bloodstream and they cause a reaction. And then you think about them and they become an emotion. You have no idea where they come from. You don't know why you're angry. You don't know why you're depressed. You don't really know why you're frustrated. You might have a clue. You might have a vague idea. But I think it's important to have some humility when it comes to yourself and to realize that you are kind of a mystery. And so when people used to enter the Temple of Delphi in ancient Greeks, the Oracle of Delphi, which was considered the seat of all wisdom. What was inscribed on top was know thyself, which was the highest form of wisdom. In order to know who you are, you have to begin from the idea, which comes from Socrates, that you don't know who you are, that you are ignorant. Ignorance is the source of knowledge. By admitting to yourself you know nothing, now you can begin to learn. And so if you think you know who you are, you're so clear about your identity, that's a sure sign that you're fooling yourself, that you're believing the script you want to believe in, and that you haven't spent the time to actually investigate and introspect on your true nature. It's a bit frightening in the sense of I'm a stranger to myself, I don't know myself, but it's also very exciting because it means you haven't figured it out yet and maybe there's still room for you to change and you can become someone else, etc., etc. It's probably the most important process you can go through is that kind of introspective process.